كل ما عمل
Prime Minister al-Halaqi visited the explosion site in Mazza 86 and called for speeding up rehabilitation works. Army units continue to chase terrorists and kill dozens of them in several areas. Obama is re-elected to the White House for another 4 years. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our news for today. Prime Minister al-Halaqi conducted an inspection tour of the site where the terrorist explosion in Mazza 86 took place last Monday, which killed and wounded scores of citizens, including women and children. Dr. al-Halaqi was briefed on the bulk of material damages caused by the blast, which left houses and shops cracked or collapsed and public utilities disrupted. He said the maintenance workshops will get the damaged infrastructure required as quickly as possible and will work to meet citizens' needs of shelters pending the reconstruction of their houses. Terrorists targeted this morning Mazza 86 residential neighborhood with mortar shells, causing the martyrdom of 3 citizens and the injury of 7 others, including women. One mortar shell hit a house, while the other fell on a bus in the neighborhood. The relatives of the martyrs and the wounded branded the terrorist act that targeted innocent civilians as cowardly, reflecting the reality of the criminals who are supported by foreign forces and seek to deal a blow to Syria because of the latter's principled stance that reject Zionist and American hegemony on the region. 11 citizens fell martyrs and dozens injured, mostly women and children, following a car bomb explosion yesterday evening at Al-Wurud neighborhood in Damascus countryside.
Terrorists blew up a car bomb and 2 explosives at Al-Wurud neighborhood in Damascus, claiming the lives of 11 martyrs and injuring tens of the innocents in the area, some of them in critical condition. A source in Al-Muassat hospital told Sana that the hospital received 6 bodies of the martyrs and 29 others injured due to the terrorist explosions, most of them children and women. The source added that some of the injured were in critical condition and they were given the first aid. A source in Yusuf Al-Azma hospital stated that it received 5 martyrs in addition to 28 persons injured. Their conditions range between middle and critical. Sana, reporter at the site of the explosions, declared that the terrorist act led to grave damages in the houses of citizens, destruction of number of cars, in addition to huge damages in the infrastructure, service, telephone and electric networks.
A terrorist group has assassinated Jad Abad Madwa, who works at Damascus countryside court in front of his house in Barza in Damascus. The explosive device that was glued to his car blew up with a remote control device, causing his immediate martyrdom. Popular committees in Yarmouk refugee camp in Damascus called on Palestinian factions to unite and confront the terrorists who seek to tamper with the security of the Palestinian people and conspire against their national cause. The committees explained in a statement that armed terrorist groups of the so-called Nusra and other affiliations of Al-Qaeda organization are trying to infiltrate into Al Yarmouk refugee camp, shelling it with mortars and killing innocent civilians. In Aleppo, terrorists have targeted citizens' houses in Baghdad station neighborhood with a mortar shell. A source in the governorate said the shell hit a house, causing material damages. The source added that army forces clashed with and killed some terrorists near Baraka Bakery and Serbian swimming pool in Bistan al-Basha, Korshash. An official source has dismissed categorically as untrue reports by certain channels about a plane having been downed in Aleppo. The source said the aim of such false news is to raise the morale of the terrorists by such channels. In Idlib, an army unit has clashed with terrorist groups who had perpetrated acts of sabotage and assaulted citizens and law enforcement troops. In Mhambil and Frike and Jisr Shughur, killing several members of the group. Among the terrorists identified was Hussein Sattouf. The authorities also clashed with a terrorist group who had detonated an explosive device on Idlib Al-Mastouma road. They killed several gunmen and captured others. Also in Idlib, terrorists blew up an explosive charge planted in a garbage container near the automatic bakery in the city. A citizen was killed and a child was seriously injured. A source in the governorate said the terrorist explosion took place in a highly populated area as employees and students were heading to their work and schools, causing material damage in the place. In Deir ez-Zor, an army unit targeted a terrorist group in Al-Mayadeen and the governorate suburbs. An official source said the operation resulted in killing and wounding of several gunmen. Among the killed terrorists identified were Abdul Majid Al-Aqla and Jum'a Hamdan Al-Saleh from the so-called Al-Qaqa battalion. Russian Foreign Ministry announced that Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Jordanian King Abdullah II affirmed during their meeting last night the necessity of supporting the efforts of UN envoy Al-Akhdar Ibrahimi, which seek to end violence in the country. The Russian Foreign Minister said in a statement that the two sides agreed to support Ibrahimi's mission to end the Syrian suffering, calling for a dialogue between the government and the opposition. Finally, U.S. President Barack Obama won a second term in the White House, overcoming deep doubts among voters about his handling of the U.S. economy to secure a clear victory over Republican challenger Mitt Romney.
The Americans chose to stick with a divided government in Washington, however, by leaving the U.S. Congress as it is, with Obama's fellow Democrats controlling the Senate and the Republicans keeping the House of Representatives. After a long and bitter, expensive campaign, the 51-year-old Barack Obama began trying to bring the Americans together in a victory speech before thousands of cheering supporters in Chicago, accusing Mitt Romney throughout the campaign of taking a harsh tone. Obama vowed to reach out to the Republicans in his new four-year term. Meanwhile, Romney, the multimillionaire and the former governor of Massachusetts, has conducted a defeat speech delivered to the disappointed supporters at the Boston Convention Center. The nationwide popular vote remained extremely close, with Obama taking about 50% to 49% for Romney after a campaign in which the candidates and their party allies spent a combined $1 billion. But Obama comfortably won the electoral votes needed by the state-to-state system that is used to choose the U.S. president. Obama scored an impressive victory across the country, so much as the big buildup over Ohio, Virginia, and Florida reached. Obama reached the 270 electoral voters needed for the election, even without those three states, rolling up wins in Democratic strongholds and carrying Nevada, Iowa, and Colorado.
With this, we conclude our news bulletin for today. For more information about Syria and the region, you can visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Up next, the latest business of market news with Nariman after a break.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Minister of Industry Adnan Al-Sukhni said that the ministry is trying to boost the efficiency of the existing facilities and to increase the productivity of the workers, as well as to fight against all forms of corruption. Al-Sukhni said that the ministry is responsible for qualifying and training the workers as well as evaluating the performance of the management, pointing out that providing money to develop the work is also a responsibility of the government, which has to search for products that can be marketed directly so that the capital can be used more than once to achieve good yields and to contribute well to the national income. The engineering institution announced that it has started to carry out joint projects of economic feasibility with the private sector, local and foreign. The projects included an assembling line for buses and trucks established to a joint venture with Belarus. Other projects included the Syrian joint company to produce solar water heaters, achieving a partnership between the engineering institution, the Syrian private sector and the Syrian-Ukrainian company. Director General of the Cooperative Agricultural Bank, Ibrahim Zaidan, said that the loans provided for the poultry sector have reached £1.5 billion Syrian pounds. Mr. Zaidan asserted that providing such loans would certainly lead to a reduction in the prices of eggs and chicken, as new poultry producers would enter this field. Meanwhile, the Union of Agricultural Chambers referred to the challenges facing this sector, most notably the security situation, the lack of accurate statistics and the health problems. The number of fishing boats that were registered at the Fisheries Department in the Directorate of Ports have reached 1,850 vessels. The head of the Fisheries Department said that the cooperation with the General Authority of Fisheries and the Association of Fishermen aims to regulate fishing and to provide the suitable conditions to practice this activity, including providing the safe shelters for the fishing vessels along the Syrian coast in order to develop the investment in this rich marine wealth. Car sales since the beginning of the year until the end of the third quarter of the year 2012 has reached almost 47,000 cars, while almost 4,000 cars have received mortgage signs. Damascus Transport Department showed that the number of registered cars has reached 5,001 and that the total fees collected have amounted to 2.112 billion Syrian pounds. Brent crude futures fell from $111 per barrel due to demand concerns and fears of cutting the supplies. Also, Reuters mentioned that the U.S. crude was down 17 cents to 88.55 US$ per barrel, keeping away from today's lowest level, which was 87.87 US$. After re-electing President Barack Obama, the European shares rose in the financial dealings today, as the Japanese shares also rose following the gains of the US shares. The Nikkei index is still 0.6% high at 9,029 points in the Tokyo Stock Exchange. Gold boosted gains today, registering the highest level in 2 weeks after President Obama got a second term in the office, which could pave the way to continue the monetary easing in the biggest economy in the world. On the other hand, spot gold recovered its early losses to register about 1,729 US$ an ounce, as gold is 14 US$ high in the US dealings. The euro and and commodity currencies like the Australian and Canadian dollars rose against the US dollar today, after President Barack Obama's victory ensured that the Federal Reserve's quantitative easing would go on. Ladies and gentlemen, this was our economic bulletin for today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.